sports coverage than anyone else in the Midlands. This is the Watch Fox Sports Zone.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Year of the platform, and sports players and coaches aren't just sticking to the football field or the basketball court anymore. They're using this downtime to cast a light on issues here in America. Welcome in to a special edition of Sports Zone tonight. I'm Mitch Brown, your host, and for the next 30 minutes we'll be having game-changing conversations. Tonight we'll air a series of conversations we've had over the past week with Gamecock players and coaches, current and former. Some Hall of Famers, all of them standing in solidarity against what's been happening in the nation, not just this year, but for generations. The first guest on the show is a newly minted USC Hall of Famer, Marcus Lattimore. Growing up in South Carolina, Lattimore knew football would provide him with a shot at success. What he didn't know is once he hung the helmet up for good, life would never be the same.
Growing up, ever since I've been the age of 16, there's been pressure. There's been expectations that were put on me at a young age just because I'm Black, I play football, I'm from the state of South Carolina, and the emotions are so strong when it comes to Clemson and the University of South Carolina that pressure was put on you at a very, very, very young age. And football was important in my community. So we were awarded so many opportunities growing up, and I'm so blessed. I'm blessed to grow up in South Carolina. And let me say this, some of the kindest and most thoughtful people I've ever met are from the state of South Carolina. I love my home, always will, and I'm proud to be a South Carolinian. However, my conditions created who I am today. And I say that with the utmost respect because it was needed. At 16, I had offers from so many different colleges. Chose to play at the University of South Carolina. I didn't realize the magnitude of that decision because it really changed. It changed where I sit on the society. When it comes to a societal hierarchy, it changed where I sat. Just because I played football, just because I chose the University of South Carolina. Did I know that at a young age? Absolutely not. I realized it to a certain extent because of all the attention I was getting. But I was following the footsteps of my role models.
Why has it been important for you to speak out even more so than you've done in the past right now, especially with so many eyes on social media, so many eyes following you?
It just came to a point where enough is enough. We've been treated as second-class citizens too long. And Emmett Till started the civil rights movement. Hopefully George Floyd and the voices, these powerful voices, specifically within the state of South Carolina that are Black, can end division, can promote equality, can promote unity. And really that's all the gist of it. My personal opinion on this thing and my personal outlook on it is, let's come together. Let's leave the past where it is, and people look in the mirror and realize that you have certain biases because of your skin. Realize that you have preconceived notions because of your skin color. And when I say that, I'm talking about Black and white. This time has forced everybody to look in the mirror, and I think it's going to be, I think there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this.
Now, although Lattimore and his wife Miranda moved to the West Coast, he won't forget his roots here in the Palmetto State and plans to keep his hand in the Gamecock community and with youth all across the state. Meanwhile, USC's head men's basketball coach Frank Martin grew up in the inner city of Miami. Life wasn't always easy for Martin, and that's why it's easy for him to relate to his African-American players. His upbringing is also why he won't stop speaking out against police brutality and racial injustice.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I come from the worst of situations. I do not, but I come from it. And when I mean it, I come from low socioeconomic. I come from a neighborhood where public school's overcrowded, and it's my alma mater, and I absolutely love it. If it wasn't for those teachers and for the majority of police officers in our neighborhood, I don't get out. But because of basketball, it gave me a chance to get out. It gave me a chance to learn and grow. But I've been coaching in the neighborhood I grew up in for 16 years before I took a chance on college basketball. And so I understand the challenges that are out there. I understand some of the things that happen that our players live because I lived them. And I've learned a lot. You learn from listening to your players a lot because even though there's a lot of things that I've lived that happened to them, I don't know the whole thing.
How do we move more towards unity in Columbia and in South Carolina?
We can't worry. We're all worried too much about federal, national stuff. You don't change the national stuff until you change your local stuff. And it's like the NABC Racial Reconciliation Committee that Tommy Amaker and I are chairing. Tommy came up with this and home run. It's got to be an inside-out approach. We got to worry about our locker room first. We got to educate our locker room. Then it's got to be our campus, educate our campus. Then we got to make sure that we educate our community, and one step at a time. And then if every coach can actually impact their locker room in a positive way when it comes to these topics, and then we can help our campuses move forward when it comes to these things. One of the great things about working where I work at, you just brought up the university. President Caslin, he just came out. And I go around the country and I brag about the fact that our university graduates African Americans at the top 3% of all universities in the country. Well, President Caslin I think it was about 2 weeks ago or so, he made a statement where he wants to up the percentage of students of color to 27% from 9% on our campus. That's the great equalizer right there, man. That's when you work at a campus like ours and you have that kind of leadership, it makes you proud to represent and fight and keep moving forward to help we're not trying to push people aside. We're not trying to prevent people from succeed. We're trying to help everybody succeed. And that's what this is all about.
Station just getting started here on Sports Zone. When we come back, we catch up with a national champion.
So when I became a professional, I was like, hey, I want to be that woman that young black girl can look at and say, oh my God, I can do it too.
It's about the double life she lived growing up in Columbia and how we can change perception and reception right here in the city.
Do I have a voice? I do think I have a voice. Do I intentionally or consciously use my voice to say, I'm using my voice to speak out against something? I use it because my heart tells me to do that.
This is the Watch Fox Sports Zone.
Silence is, you have to live with that. You have to look somebody in the face and say, who's a black player in the face and say, I did speak out, and you got to come up with a really good reason as to why, unless you agree with what's happening out there. And that's when, it doesn't align. You're not equally yoked in that manner. And I just don't think it works.
During this time, silence can be deafening. People wonder why college coaches have to make statements or speak out on the heightened awareness on racial injustice and police brutality. It's because they sit in players' living rooms, recruiting them, telling them they'll take care of them like family. And this matters to those athletes they call family. One player who is not being silent in these times, A'ja Wilson, the Columbia native and 2017 national champion, says she struggled growing up in Columbia, trying to please all of her friends, both white and black. And that led her on a journey to truly embracing who she is.
I felt like I was living like a double life because, my club team was pretty much all black. Those were my people that I was hanging out with outside of school. And then when I go to school, My friends were white. I had white friends. I surrounded myself. That's kind of how I was. And it was kind of like, growing up, you're going to adapt to the situations around you. So I really felt like a little conflicted because I'm like, okay, this is who I am. Some of my black friends be like, oh, you just want to be white. You're trying to be white and stuff like that. And then I'm like, well, my white friends, I don't know how they could see me. They could just be putting on the front. So it was very hard for me, especially growing up. And like, this was like middle school when you're trying to find yourself and trying to fit in. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is so much for me. But it actually helped me out. It helped me out with my character a lot because I had to realize this is who I am. I can't change it. God has blessed me with all of this. And it's like, either you're going to take it or you're going to leave it. I'm still going to be me.
How do we create change here in 2020 to where you don't have to feel like you're living a double life, where you don't have to code switch, where you don't have to feel like you have to put on a facade to be around a certain group or in a certain environment?
It's our mindset, and it's just the way that we go about things. I remember a friend of mine was just like, history doesn't repeat itself, people do. It's the way that we've been taught. It's the way that our minds have been programmed, and it's such closed-minded people. And as humans, we do that to protect ourselves. I get it, it's human, but I think the only way that would do is just, you gotta look from within. I think a lot of people are scared to be open about it because they don't know the backlash. They don't know anything that may come with it. But I think that was the biggest thing with me is just, I don't care. I had to step back and say, I don't care how people are going to view me because at the end of the day, I'm me. I can't change it. And it was tough for me because I'm like, oh my God, I have a fan base and oh my gosh, I'm trying to make everybody happy. But at the end of the day, we can't do that. And I hate when my dad was saying, he's seen me go through what he went through in high school. Like that means there's been no change at all. And it's just so sad. Like you see changes here and there, but it's going to take everyone to really say, you know what, this is unacceptable. And the mere fact that we have people second guessing about just do Black Lives Matter it irritates me. It's so much because I'm like, human rights. I mean, we're equal. You shouldn't have to second guess my equality to yours just because of the color of my skin. And so it really just going to take something from within that people just got to say, hey, this is the way it is. We're not going anywhere for sure. So it's just a matter of changing your mindset.
Now, Wilson is a special type of Gamecock, born and raised in Columbia, but there's yet another Gamecock hailing from the state of South Carolina trying to make an impact in his community. Jay Uric, the rising senior quarterback and wide receiver, and Matt Dowell joining me in studio now. Matt, you had a chance to chat with Jay, and he's definitely not afraid to speak up.
No, he's not, Mitch. Jay Uric has become one of the most outspoken players on the Gamecock football team, especially after he made a sign for the protest that said, "Matter is the minimum." That sign gained the attention of Martin Luther King Jr.'s family, and Uric has even gone on to launch a nonprofit benefiting the youth of Columbia. During this movement, you'll hear the word privilege a lot, and I spoke with Uric about what that word means to him and what he's learned about Black history.
Yeah, I think privilege, when that word comes to mind, I think of a story. Actually, one of my leaders in my life, his name's Dustin Spitzer, told me this. He basically told me a story about basically as a white man, I have, if I'm going somewhere, I have 3 obstacles in the way to get there. And he said, you can look at privilege as in, if a Black man has that same path, he's automatically going to have 4 obstacles. And that last one's obviously because of his skin color in America. So that's a story that really helped me understand privilege. And, it's taken me to, take off my, I don't know what to call it, but just being able to understand that, being white in America, there's some privileges that come with that.
Can I ask you where you got your shirt?
Yes, so this is something that Coach Muschamp and Weezy gave us on Juneteenth.
Nice. How much did you know about Juneteenth before this year?
I didn't know. I honestly didn't know it at all, and I'm ashamed to say that. But I didn't really know that, and we had a Zoom meeting as a team, and on Juneteenth, and we sort of got educated, and it was really cool for a lot of us, the whole team, to come together and really understand the history and trying to be more educated.
Every time I speak with Jay Uric, the word that comes to mind is genuine. He just speaks from his heart, and he's always honest. And I have to say, Mitch, while we're here, that I'm so honored you asked me to be part of this special. So many black journalists have helped me in this industry during my career, and you, my friend, are one of them. We've become such great friends over this past year that you've been here. You know, everyone always wants to know, who's friends and who's not. You and I are truly great friends, and I just wanted to say how proud I am of you for putting this together, and I will always, always stand with you, and I will always stand up for you.
Greatly appreciate that, Matt. Greatly appreciate your perspective as well. And to everybody in the Watch Fox Sports Department behind the scenes that has helped with this and helping us encourage to use the platform. We appreciate you all in doing that. This show continues after this break.
I see man and woman. I feel like we all should have equal amount of opportunities, and no one should look at anyone different.
Teammate Dakarian Joyner, his heart and home is here in South Carolina, and he's got a message to share. His game-changing conversation continues after the break.
I love the fact that they want to use their voice. I love the fact that they're out there peacefully protesting. And I think it's a great thing. And I told them as well that there are going to be some people who aren't linked up in your thoughts and your voice. So you have to be prepared to have a certain level of knowledge in what you're protesting so you can combat, intelligently what somebody may think differently than what you think.
This is the Watch Fox Sports Zone.
Welcome back into a special edition of Sports Zone. Our last guest tonight is a Charleston native, and he says he's got unconditional love for his hometown and home state. But USC wide receiver Dakarian Joyner knows everything isn't peachy in the Palmetto State.
We definitely take that word listen into hand. We try to meet at least once on Zoom as a whole, as a team, just to kind of talk about a lot of different things. And in leadership, we want to hit on anything we feel like we're missing in our program, or if anyone needs to speak out. It's an open mic. We all want to be heard, and we all are listening ears. I appreciate Coach Muschamp allowing us to have the open floor, being able to listen and being able to talk freely amongst each other. That builds trust in coaches, and that builds trust in players. But hearing some of the stories, it kind of bothers me. But on one thing about our team, we're all brothers. We all look at each other as one, and I commend my team for that. We love on each other, and I think what has been going on, sadly, has brought us closer.
What's your message to the Columbia community, your Charleston community? The young kids out there right now that are kind of going to be in your shoes.
Know your worth, and when you know your worth, utilize it. Everyone has a talent. Everybody has a way they can hop onto opportunities, but just continue to use your platform, man. Continue to stay focused, because everyone doesn't get this opportunity, whatever opportunity you may have. And life is life. You can't change everybody. So I pray you don't, but you may have some racial encounters, but you just have to be that person who sees it clearly and don't see color, and just focus on the positive things, because you're going to have so many people who say a lot of different things. But I just pray all the kids in Charleston kind of stay focused and don't continue to go down the wrong path. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many opportunities and blessings out here in this world. To the city of Columbia, the younger generation, the older generation, I just pray we continue to come together as one. I pray the city of Columbia, and not just city of Columbia, everybody kind of accepts us athletes with open arms when it comes to speaking on injustice and speaking on a lot of different things of how we feel. Because, like I say, we are a man, we are men. We have some women on our staff as well. We are men and we are women. You know what I'm saying? We all are human. We all bleed the same. You know what I'm saying? So I just pray y'all continue to accept us with open arms, hear us out. You know what I'm saying? And let's move together as one.
Now, a big shout out to that team, Coach Muschamp, for allowing Joyner, Uric, and the players to use their platform. They're not the only two, many of them using this time to speak out against the issues in America. Coming up, though, we have some final thoughts as we wrap up this game-changing conversation here on this special edition of Sports Zone.
My thing that I'll be pushing is voting. Vote locally, vote nationally, vote, 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 vote. That's my thing, because I'm 50 years old. I've seen enough, to know enough to pass that down to them. But I don't want that to be their initiative, because I don't think they understand it. They haven't voted enough to understand how to change things in that matter.
This is the Watch Fox Sports Zone.
Welcome back in a game-changing conversation, this special edition of Sports Zone tonight, here talking about race and social injustice in America. Tonight we've heard from figures in the South Carolina sports community who have all had a different upbringing, a different walk, and a unique perspective on where we are as a society and what we can do to all come together. Over the past few months, you've heard the names Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Elijah McClain. Yes, there's many more injustices that the light hasn't been shined on. But as we close out, it's important to reiterate what everyone said tonight. We can defeat racism together. I'll leave you all with this thought tonight. You've only had to walk in your shoes, so sometimes it is hard to empathize with what some people have gone through. Will Muschamp says his team is using the words educate and communicate in their locker room. The word they won't use is silence. Right now, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, how can I help defeat racism and social injustice? Then join in the fight, because whether it's the hardwood or the gridiron or the rubber oval, there's always strength in numbers, and together we can defeat racism and social injustice. The full interviews from tonight are available online at wach.com/sports. As always, though, we appreciate the company tonight. I'm Mitch Brown, and of course, you can always stick with us here on Sports Zone as we continue these conversations. Big thanks to everyone that made this happen here tonight. Big thanks to Curtis Fry as well with USC, who helped as well, track and field department. Good night, folks.